Hello creators, thank you for joining me, and welcome to the art part with Miss Colleen. Today we are going to be exploring a little bit more the art element known as space. In the past we have explored the use of positive and negative space in our artwork. Today we are going to be exploring using space to create the illusion of depth in our artwork. And there are a few different ways that we can create the illusion of depth, meaning having some objects appear closer and some farther away. We can overlap objects, making it appear that one is behind the other. We can use shading to create the illusion of form, which helps us create depth in our artwork. We can use placement. Placing an object closer to the horizon can make it appear farther away. We can use size, where making an object smaller makes it appear farther away. We can use value and color, because objects that are farther away appear lighter or bluer because of our atmosphere. And we can use perspective, where the shape of objects changes as it gets farther away, gets smaller and closer to what we call the vanishing point on the horizon. So those are a few different techniques that we will be exploring and talking about today as we create our artwork. The materials that you will need today will be a piece of paper. You can use a pencil if you like to sketch or to shade. That is up to you. And I'm going to be using my crayons quite a bit, and I would suggest having your colors near you as well. You're going to want to use color for this, because one of the techniques that we're going to be exploring is the use of color in creating that illusion of depth. So for this exercise, or this exploration, you can use your paper to create any kind of artwork that you like. But we are going to be exploring probably an outdoor space, since we're really trying to get a feel for how to create that illusion of depth and big outdoor spaces. And you can use any colors you like, but we are definitely going to be exploring bluer colors farther away and warmer colors closer. So make sure that whatever colors you choose, you're really going to be focusing on using bluer colors in the distance and warmer colors in the front. I think for my artwork, I am probably going to do some mountains for my outdoor scene, probably some trees. You can use this time to start getting ideas for what you think you would like to draw in your space. It can be any kind of a scene, any kind of a landscape or an outdoor space. You can have bodies of water, you can have animals, any kinds of plants or trees that you like. It could be something big, something a little bit smaller, but we just really want to explore ways to use those different techniques to create the illusion of depth. I think what I'm going to start with is, I'm going to start, and I can look back at my paper here, I think I'm going to start with some overlapping with some mountains on mine. And I know that if the mountains are overlapping, that will make it look like some are in front of the others and some are behind. I can make some of the mountains smaller as they are farther back with size. I can put some a little bit higher up with placement, and I'm definitely going to be using value and color in my exploration. So pick something to start with. I'm going to pick my mountains here. I think I'll do some purple mountains in the front, going to darker, some bluer, not darker, but bluer mountains in the back. So let's just start with maybe a nice little mountain range here. If you've watched the art part in the past, you know I love creating landscapes with a mountain range. I just love the mountains. Now for this one, I think I'll use my blue. Maybe I'll do another. I'll do a blue and a purple combined sort of mountain range. These ones I'm going to make a little bit smaller and farther back, and they're overlapping, as you can see. Just doing some exploration of what that's going to look like. something like that. And I am going to color them in. I'm just doing my outlines first. Oh boy, this is hard to line my crayons up just right since they've been worn down. But that's okay. So just take a second, start imagining, start putting some shapes down of what you'd like to create in your artwork. What kind of depth you're going to be playing with. And remember that the farther away an object is, the bluer it is going to appear. And that's because of the way that light interacts with our atmosphere here on Earth. As light bounces around in the atmosphere, it gets between our eyes and the things that we're looking at, and it makes things appear lighter in value and bluer in color. So I'm going to take a moment and color my mountains. I'm going to say maybe there's a field between us and these mountains. So the things that are closer to us appear more clear, appear a little bit darker in value, and a little bit warmer in color because we can see them better. And there isn't a lot of atmosphere between us and the things that are close to us. And that's why this doesn't really, you can't really see the difference when you're inside because everything is pretty close to you. Even if you're in a really big room, there isn't a lot of atmosphere between you and the things in the room. But if you're outside and there's a big wide open space, take a look at things that are very far away when you're in a big wide open space. And you can see how things get a little bit lighter and a little bit bluer. So the way I'm going to create that effect with my crayons is I'm going to color my mountains a little bit lighter and start to introduce some of those blue tints to the shapes and the objects that are farther away. Maybe you're doing this with some houses, some trees. Maybe you wanted to draw some giant flowers. That was an idea I had. Maybe I'll do that for my next artwork. Maybe some giant teddy bears. Whatever you want to do in your artwork. What we are exploring right now is the illusion of depth. So farther away means lighter in value and bluer in color. I think I'm even going to darken up some of these mid-range mountains. So that I can really get a difference between the mid-range and the far-away mountains. Now I have a big difference between this value and this one. This one looks a lot darker to me than this one, so I'm probably going to darken this one up and darken this one even more. So I can really get that illusion of depth. Really want it to appear that the mountains that are behind, as they get farther back, they get lighter and bluer. This is good. This is a good thing to practice too, because this technique can be very handy if you're really trying to create that illusion of depth. There we go. I like that blend of colors better too. It really looks like it's transitioning from purple to blue. And you can mix those two colors like that. I'm just going to darken up this purple value here. And of course, as with all our artwork, you can just keep working on it. Keep exploring. And if it doesn't quite work this time, that's okay. It means you learned something for next time. Alrighty. So now I've got a mountain range here where as the mountains get farther back, they get bluer in color and they get lighter in value. So it really gives that illusion that the ones that are farther away are farther away. Now for this open space in front here, I still want to continue that same idea that the things that are in front are warmer and the things that are in back are cooler. Excuse me. So I think what I'm gonna do is create some trees. This will also give us a chance, if we want to look back at our illusion of depth paper here, it will give me a chance to work on placement and size, placing things that are farther away, smaller and more up here, and things that are closer down here and larger. I think I'll do some trees. I think I'll get, I think what I'll do for my trees is I'm gonna play with that, that change in color by making my trees all the same basic colors, and then I will color over them with warmer and cooler colors to see what that does, just to do a little exploration. I think I'm gonna put a tree right here. It's pretty far away. If we think this is where we're standing, then a tree back here is pretty far away. Maybe another one right here. It's just starting with the trunks. Maybe we've got some trees way over here. So they're gonna be really tiny, because things get smaller as they go towards the horizon. And maybe I'll put a bit bigger one right here. Maybe a nice big one right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit out of frame. And maybe I'll put the top of a tree right here really big. But I think these trees, I'm gonna make them with my green crayon. I'm gonna make some fir trees or evergreens. Pines. Not sure quite what kind they are, but they're in that family. A little bit of a medium tree there. And I'll do, this one's a little bit bigger because it's a little bit closer. And this This one's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit closer. You can tell it's a little bit farther down on my paper than this one is. And of course, these trees themselves could be different sizes even if they were all standing next to each other. That's up to you as the artist. That's just what you feel that these trees are in your imagination. And of course, you might not even be doing trees on your paper. Whatever you are imagining, just remember what we're practicing. And these ones are really far away, so they're going to be really tiny. Really tiny. Tiny, tiny. Tiny, tiny trees. These two are buddies. They live next to each other. They're neighbors. Neighbor buddies. Got one there. And I'm going to do a nice big one right here. It's nice and close. So now you could be choosing different colors as you're doing this. It's a little bit harder with our limited palette since we only have about 12 or so crayons. And it's a little bit easier to change up the colors when you can mix colors like you can with paints or other media. But we have other ways that we can use crayons. And I think I'll put a nice big one right here. It's so close that we can't even see the trunk. And of course, if you wanted to do the actual land, whether it's grass or sand or whatever, before you did what's on the land, you can do that. I just decided to do it this way this time. Now, to create that bluer effect, I think I'm just going to take my blue crayon and I'm going to color over these ones that are farther away just a little bit to get that effect. Just add a little blue on top of there. Doesn't have to cover it up, but we're just adding that little bit of shading. Try to give it a little bit of a blue effect. Do a little bit on this one. Just a little bit bluer than it was before. You can start to see how it looks sort of more on the cool side. I'll add a little bit on here, but not too much because it's in that mid-range. Now for these ones that are getting a little bit closer, maybe I'll leave this one the way it is. Maybe for these ones I'll even warm them up a little bit. A little bit of red, just a touch. Maybe actually a little bit of yellow and orange, just a little bit to give it that feeling of being warmer. Warmer colors make it feel closer. Just making that exploration. Maybe just a light dusting of my yellow-orange. To get that same effect I did with the mountains, where the warmer colors are in front and the cooler colors are in back. There we go. You can even, it's a little bit harder with crayons to make the value lighter, but you can try scraping off a little bit of the crayon from the paper. See how that can make that tiny tree over there look a little bit lighter. There you go. A little bit lighter in value. And now, I think think one more thing that I might work with is a little bit of perspective. Maybe there's an old fence. Maybe there's an old fence in this big open space. I don't think I want to do a road this time. I think I want to do a fence. Nice. Ooh, I'm going to do a black fence. That as it goes farther away, it's going to get smaller and it's going to go up on the paper. That's going to make it feel, with that placement, it's going to go up here and each fence post is going to get a little bit smaller. And it's also going to get lighter in value. Bit by bit. I think it's going to be a little bit of an old fence that I think somebody forgot about, so maybe it's going to be a little bit crooked too. Some of the posts are going to be a little bit crooked. And they're going to go up the paper, get smaller and smaller, lighter and lighter. Yep. Just like that. Maybe the fence curves around a little bit. I'm going to connect these posts. Oh, that one fell down. So whatever you are putting on your paper, you are exploring those different techniques to create the illusion of depth. And go back and darken up these ones here, and maybe I'll even add some of that blue to these farther away posts to get that change in color. Definitely have that change in value. I'm going to add a second post on these, or a second tie. Something like that. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of blue on there. Just a light little touch of blue to give it that atmosphere effect. It gets bluer as it's farther away. It's a really fun trick you can use. Really fun technique to create that space. Just a little touch of blue. And now I think I'm gonna color my my big open space here and my big open sky. I think this big open space is gonna be some yellows and greens and browns. So if I imagine that it's gonna be maybe some like grass area, I'm still probably gonna bring that blue in to create that farther field area, create the illusion of depth there. But I'm going to start by just laying in some of that color for my grasses. Probably this yellow I'm going to keep closer to the front. Most of my yellow will be in the front since that yellow is a warmer color. Don't want to have a lot of yellow at the back because it might get confusing for your eye if we're really practicing having the warmer colors in the front and the cooler colors in the back. A little bit of yellow going back, not a lot of yellow. That doesn't mean that there isn't yellow. If we were to travel over here, maybe the grass would look the same as the grass here, but since we're standing right here at this edge of the painting, well, drawing, it's going to look different, the front versus the back, because of our perspective. All right, I'm going to start layering in some of that yellow-green. And as I'm doing my grass here, it's a very messy kind of style of grass. You might have your own way of doing grass. I like to do it in a very sort of loose, messy kind of style. Still, those strokes are going to get smaller the farther away we go. And the way I do this, I don't have to draw every single blade of grass, although that is a style that you might like to explore. But with this style, I just like to do it very loose and messy. Because I think it's fun and I think it looks cool. Your style might be totally different. So just take time to explore those different ways to create depth. Placement, overlapping, differences in value and color, differences in size, and if you know how to change the shape so that it gets farther away, it gets smaller, perspective. Just exploring how to create depth. All right, I'm going to move on to my green here. Layer in some more grass. Now I don't want to blend it in with the trees too much, so I'm probably going to use not as much of this green. And definitely this is where I can make this closer area a darker value, and the back is going to be this lighter value. My scribbly grass. Just a fun style to play with. Getting lighter value as I work farther away. Lighter value, lighter value. Darker value in the front. Lighter value and smaller strokes. Smaller, lighter, bluer. As we get closer to the horizon. going to add a little bit of brown down here. Give it that feeling of dry grass and dirt in between nooks and crannies. Again, a little bit darker value in the front. And the lighter value as we work backwards. Or if you're starting at the back and working down, lighter value at the back, darker in the front. Just really exploring, creating that space, creating that depth. Probably going to use a little bit less brown as I go back because brown is such a warm color. I want to keep it close to the front, just like I did with the yellow. I'm going to grab that blue so I can fill in just a little bit of that fading away into blue feeling. Get that atmosphere, the atmosphere gives us. You can explore different ways of doing that. Maybe a light coloring like this. Or maybe you add actual grass in there. That's bluer. This is your exploration. Whatever you do, it's quite all right. All right, you can kind of see as things get farther away, it starts to look like it's farther away because it's bluer and it's lighter. And this stuff in front is a little bit darker because it's a little bit closer. I might work on that some more, but I think the last thing I'm going to do, give us a nice soft sky. I think our sky for this one, maybe it's the early morning. So we've got a nice soft light blue sky. And of course, as you are exploring color and depth some more in these big open spaces, what time of day it is can change the color of the landscape as well. And you can look at photographs and other artwork, or just look around in your day at different times of day to see how the light changes the world around you. When it's like a beautiful sunset hour, sometimes the world is nice and pink and gold. Early in the morning, sometimes it's very light. Other times of day, other types of weather. All of that is stuff that you can explore in your artwork. But hopefully this gave you a little bit more of an idea of how you can use color and value, placement and size overlapping, etc. to create that feeling of depth. I really like in my drawing, I like how these little trees appear a little bit lighter in value, makes them feel farther away. I like the way this fence gets lighter in value as it gets farther away and much, much smaller, gives it that feeling of depth. And I like the way the mountains, as they recede, they get lighter and bluer in color. So hopefully you had a chance to explore that, and I hope that gives you some tools to explore the illusion of depth and the creation of space in your artwork a little bit more in your future endeavors. As always, I will see you next time. And I hope you keep creating and keep sharing.